So hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. As you can see, it's qualifier race number 4. Extra qualifier this month in June before we head into our finals next week. My name's Matt Payne. I'm going to be bringing you all of the race action along with the one and only Emma Martin. Emma, we've just had a mad, crazy, busy, lunatically fast women's race, but not quite a course record.
No, it was not a course record in the women's, but I can guarantee you today in the men's race, it will be a course record.
Indeed, it will. I think today's racing will be as red hot as a red hot chili pepper. Let's get down for some Californication in California.
Well, we are indeed going to California, and who's going to be dreaming today? Dreaming of the Hollywood Hills. 45 kilometres of racing today, 774 metres of climbing, and yet we are going to Hollywood. 5.5 kilometres into the race, the first of 4 climbs, the second just 2 categorised Category 3 climbs. Hollywood climb, it's 3.1 kilometres long, 6% average gradient. We then drop down through the rolling lands of California. Then we climb, then we drop, we go through the San Francisco Sprint, the Hawk Hills, and then the Spring Road climb is where we finish. 6.8 kilometres to the checkered flag at the top. Well, it's got an average gradient of 4%, but it is a stepped climb. And well, who is going to be there at the bottom of that climb to make it to the top first? Only time will tell. We're heading to California.
We are indeed really looking forward to this. Now, 774 metres of climbing means this is right in the middle of the spectrum of climbs that we do on the Sunday Race Club. Brand new course, so lots of people hopefully will have been out making sure that they have this course dialed, that they know what these hills are like. The transition between the first flat section and the Hollywood climb is almost instantaneous. Going to be very, very tough. How will our riders get on? Well, as usual, one of the things that has remained the same is the 4 groups. Category 1 in yellow, 2 in green, 3 in blue, and Category 4 are in red. Category 4 and 3 separated by 5 minutes, 10 minutes between 3 and 2, and then 5 minutes between 2 and 1. Category 4 going first. We're going to take a little bit of a look at our riders and our teams in there. Great to see the return of our teams. We've got the Level Up Racing team in here. We've got the Power, we've got Upcycled and WTBR Brazil. So we have Captain Ben Kirk, the one and only Luke Allport and Ola Warren in Level Up Racing. Jacques Rusinek, Jeff Rooney and Joshua Kalangad for the Power. We have Adriano Zanaska, Ian Lloyd and Xavier Maillard for Upcycling. Osmar Viz, Marcus Brito and Renato Santorio Ramos for WTBR MyWhoosh Brazil.
Well, indeed, 43 riders on the start sheets, Matt, alongside and including those teams. McMurtry is here, Aymer, Dadson, Tobin, Ochoa, Casagrande, Dromard. Mark Dadson is here, Pino, Smithson, Francis Connell. It could be fabulous. And all I can say is, if anyone can tell us how many California or Hollywood song references there are in this commentary by the end, you're better than I am.
It's time to hit those Hollywood Hills. It's time to see who is going to get themselves a start on that Walk of Fame out there. It is racing fast and furious with the first of our groups away. Now, we have been speculating behind the scenes with the production team as to what sort of racing we're going to see in the first 5.5 kilometres. Because it is very similar in some ways to when we first came to the Belgian courses. If you haven't watched them, have a little watch back. Try and find the first Belgian race route in the men's competition. It was flat. Nobody knew what was coming up particularly in terms of racing. They might have ridden it, but they hadn't raced it. However, sometimes when we go to a course, it's flat. everyone's taking it easy because they don't know what's coming. Other times they go, right, let's go for it, and it's absolutely manic. So real speculation here. At the moment, this group looks to be going out pretty steadily away, making sure they're going out smoothly. Nice to see Joshua in there, Joshua Callangad down there, wearing his jersey, already looking super smooth. Good to see you, Joshua. I am indeed waving, as always, on the to our riders on the screen. It's a very bad habit, or great habit I have, and good to see him looking smooth. Those revs looking good. Nice and relaxed there in his shoulders and arms as well, Emma. So clearly looking like he's ready for today as we head down. And we're down on to what is Venice Beach by the look of it.
Well, indeed, and Torsten Holtz is the rider we are in with at the moment, right at the front of that Category 4 race pack, and nice and tightly spread across the road, indicating that the riders are doing a very similar pace at the moment. Just one rider off the back at the moment. We're needing to push on and get back into the midst of that group. It is pan flat on this course for the first 5.5 kilometres, but blah, 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 blah.
Second rewind of the day.
I've got stuck in Hotel California. But Marcos Brito is the rider, kicking off the front at the moment, just stretching his legs on the flatlands, knowing for a fact, well, it's airtime.
It is indeed. So on to the boardwalk. On the top, but not underneath the boardwalk, unfortunately, as he goes over the top here. Holt's about to take the left-hand turn in pursuit of Brito. That kick by Brito just to open up the gaps at the moment. Looks like it's provoked a reaction from Holtz here as they come around this sweeping left-hand turn. Torsten Holtz there just ticking the revs over outside out in the fresh air. That looks like it could well be a patio or a balcony. Not quite sure which there. Torsten, I'm sure at some point you'll let us know. Good to see Torsten, though. Very quickly into action with the front group. And this has wound it up. We've got riders struggling to get back in now because of the paces that come in through underneath the roller coaster. Around this turn, fantastic camera angle there as it comes sweeping round the bend. Absolutely love that. As they come in to town, once again, going to come out from the arcades, from the amusements, and go back in to downtown. Going to hit what is the high-rise multi-story blocks. At the moment, we have one big block of riders in the peloton. We have a little bit of a gap to our two escapees. And that is Holst and Brito up front. And the man floundering in the tide on the way across from Alcatraz. It looks like one rider just distanced now. In with Ben Kirk in here, making his way in around the corner. You can see Captain Kirk in action once again, looking as always very focused as he comes around the left-hand turn here. Wonder if Star Trek was filmed in the studios in Hollywood.
Who knows whether someone will know whether Star Trek was filmed in. And please do get in touch. I think that's a Matt Fixer Payne message. Well, Andrew Neville Ross is in the mix because this is Category 3 and they're down on the start line with 50 seconds to go. The teams today, Level Racing, well, that's Carrillo and Kalman. South America, well, Moreno, Oviedo, Angarita and Kirchner. And Ivo Sur from the Silver Snatchers, all on the start line today. 46 riders in total in Category 3 on the start line today. And joining the teams, Diduch, Kinoski, Valencia, Ilpino, Rodriguez, Hagland, Arrego, Cansara, Batty, Giuliano, Acker, all down on that start line, ready to go.
So here we are in with Andrew Neville Ross, who is going to hit warp speed as they come out from the pens. It's time to go racing down here in California, taking the turn to come out from those pens. Make the way out in front of the steps there and start to make the way out onto the course on MyWhoosh on this brand new world in California. Will they be heading around towards the Dodger Stadium? If they do go across the parking lot, that is on Vin Scully Avenue. That is where they filmed Star Trek. There you go. It's amazing what you can find out. So the Lots of different parts of there. The Elysian part was used for the planet Vulcan as well.
Well, there we go. But Category 3, they are rolling towards the amusement park at the moment. When just noticing Angarita is on the front there, so's Ruiz. They are moving through the pack, and on the pack is rolling continually round at the moment, up to 40 kilometres an hour, just 600 metres into this race. They're a minute into racing in California. Neville Ross, part and parcel of the front of the group, so is Abello, Velez, Guarin, Arago. David Young is in here as well, so is Montoya, so is Carrillo, and there indeed is Andrew Neville Ross on the screen, giving everyone a huge wave.
And let's see if he does need. He was got his prep on social media. Do give Andrew a follow on social media. He had his preparations ready. He said for when he got dropped, there was a big packet of tissues on the side for the tears if he got dropped. I'm not so sure that's going to be the case today, but it is a big hill to finish. We know he goes well on bumpy courses. Will he go as well when we have this mountaintop finish? That last climb of nearly 7 kilometres is going to be very interesting to see how he goes on. Now, race action starting to unfold in Category 4 because Ben Kirk and Luke Allport are doing an Allport. That is basically teleporting the way off the front of the bunch, or trying to. And at the moment, there is no beaming them up to the front. It is all at the back. They're going to need more power. I don't know whether Scott is going to be able to give it to them, because at the moment they are not breaking free. They are stuck within the atmosphere. And at the moment, they do not have launch speed. They have just got a long trail behind them.
Well, they do indeed have a long trail of riders behind them at the moment. Those red jerseys are spread back down the road behind Allport and Kirk. Holtz is up there, so is Aymer. Aymer rode really strongly last week, finished 4th overall. Rusinek is there as well, and Jacques Rusinek, well, he's on our screen at the moment, and he has been consistently strong over recent weeks. The Canadian rider pushing on into 4th place and coming to the fore of the chasing group. 3 riders in the front: Holtz, Allport and Kirk. Rusinek pushing on. He's towing the rest of the pack up, but there's damage being done already, particularly to the back of the group. They're at 5.4 kilometres into this race. 5.5 is coming, and we know what comes at 5.5 kilometres. There it is, the polka dot banner. It's the Hollywood climb.
And it's a quick transition into a steep gradient. We go from that flat on to what is now heading for 8%, goes over 8%, and this is where we start to wind our way up through the Hollywood Hills up this climb. Very, very tough climbing here as they make the way out from the coastline, moving inland. This is, though, one of the great roads to ride on. If you're out there, if you get the chance to ride out there, these hills are absolutely iconic in terms of riding. A twist and the turns, very similar to an alpine climb in lots of ways, just shrunk down in scale. 5.5 kilometers long, or if you are in America and you're working in Imperial, it's about 3 miles.
Well, working in Imperial, it's about 3 miles, and this is Category 3. They are still on the flatlands at 2.6 kilometres. They've got 3k to go until they hit the hills, but they are pushing on at the moment. One big group at the moment now. It was 46 riders on the start sheets in Category 3. For our new viewers, Category 4 start first, 5 minutes before Category 3. Then it's a 10-minute gap between Category 3 and Category 2, and a 5-minute gap between Category 2 and Category 1, which means 20 minutes between Category 4 and Category 1 starting.
Big time gap, big distance gap. Does make it even harder for Category 1 to close down and become the leaders on the road. The leaders on the road at the moment, well, it's Ben Kirk and Luke Allport. They have continued to extend that gap, but it has broken the group apart behind. The fracturing, well, they are beginning to look like dot to dot behind in the red on the bottom left-hand side of that right-hand screen. You can just see the red, this representing our riders scattered across the climb as this gradient continues upwards. Now, although it does change, it is basically all uphill. There is no downhill rest on the way through. They are making their way way through towards those iconic Hollywood Hills letters up on the side of the mountain that features so strongly in everything on screen. A very, very popular location for filming all sorts, from detective dramas to big blockbusters. It's the home of many, many stars as well. But stars on the road at the moment, it's Kirk and Allport who are really winding this up, both from Level Up Racing. They're being chased by Holtz, by Kalanga, by Amur, by Rustenegg, by Marin. They are really starting to push behind, but the gap sitting at 3 seconds. They've not broken clear yet. It's stable behind, immediately behind. A little bit further back, it is a long train of riders. And if this is the way that this course is going to go, we could well see groups of 2s and 3s the whole way off this from 5.5k when we hit the base of the Hollywood climb, right the way through the climbs, all the way through the Mummerland sprint up, climb up to the Hawk Hills climb, up to the Spring Road climb. Do you know our second climb of the day? It's a reference to Sesame Street in my head. No. Or should it be the Muppets? That's the Muppets, isn't it? No.
That's not Sesame Street. That's Big Bird.
That's Big Bird. I want to see Big Bird singing. No,
it's not. No.
No. I did like the drummer though in the Muppets. It's a totally random thing there. Just expressing my preference for the drummer. Anyway, back here, setting the beat on the climb, it is Philippe Marin who has got the gap here. Kirk and Allport brought back into the fold, but look at the size of that group. That's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, maybe 11 riders, 12 riders in there from our initial pack who are in sight on the same point on the road. Who are at the moment leading them out. You can see in the distance the top of the skyscrapers. You can see how much height we've climbed in Hollywood on the hills, and at the moment category 4 started to reach the way up towards the top. They're at 7.2k. The summit comes at 8.6 kilometers, so still a fair distance to go. Behind them, heading in towards the hills, you can see category 3 are one complete Gruppo Compacto, one small, very tight-knit block. They are about to take the right-hand turn that leads them onto the climb. So here we go, right-hand turn. It's time to head for those Hollywood Hills. Pino, Guarin and Hagland on the left of your screen. They're all in this big pack. They're in this big bunch. And you can see the hills in front of them. Time to see just who fancies it on climb number 1 here on qualifier race number 4 of June.
Well, the Hollywood climb, as they go underneath the banner, Diduch, Montoya, Cadiz, Pino, Guarin, all at the front. Neville Ross is up there as well. So is Juan Martin Messer. These riders pushing on now. Beyond them, further up the climb, groups of category 4 riders, but it's Pino who pushes on. Francis Pino pushing on at the front of the group now. 7.5 watts per kilo on the early stages of the climb, and boy does it kick hard soon. Kick hard's early, 9.9% right from the gun on the Hollywood Hill.
So here we go, making our way up the climb. Making the way on towards the top. Category 4, Category 3 well on the way up. Category 2 though, all ready to go, lined up down on the start line. Now we have the Otero Alliance here, captained by David Goodall. We've got the Level Wizards with Betty and Walter, the UAE clan team. Legendary Mr. X100, Pablo Popovic and SS down to start for them today. The UAE Falcons here, as always, Al Tanashi and Hamden looking to rip it up against what's up, which is Kowalski, Kont and Clays. Well, it's time to up the watts. It's time to hit the road. It is category 2. It's time to go. The penultimate race start here in the Californian world here on MyWhoosh. They're going to come around, take in the left turn and take the right-hand turn. And we are away and racing. Category 2 is a huge field. 18 nations represented in
Wow.
Category 2 from all around the globe, from multiple continents, as you would expect. And it's time to see who Emma has got her eye on today in Category 2, because it is a huge list. Come on, Emma, not just who, but why as well.
Well, do you know what? I think this course, being a new course, is going to be a very interesting pick and mix for Category 2. Some very strong riders, and I think we're going to see some very interesting race tactics today. The Hollywood climb coming at 5.5 kilometres into the race. It's an early climb. You would expect that this course suits a strong climber because they've got that Hollywood climb to start with, 3.1 kilometres. It is then not a flat transition to the final climb, which is 6.8 kilometres. You know, that Spring Road climb. It is really something to that Checker Fagner Holweiler strong rider. Could be part and parcel of the mix. But Phil Graves, Ross Fawcett, Nicholas Spratt, Mendakowicz, Millerstick. Who else might be on my list today? Oh, Krasnich. He might be on my list today. Bjarhead could go strongly as well. I know that's a long list, but 43 riders on the start sheets of Category 2 today. And often this is such a competitive race field. Now, Mendakowicz and X100, 0.1 of a second separated them last week on the Tel Marib course. Graves, Bengston and Peter Millerstick were the riders behind in 3rd, 4th and 5th. But it is such an open race field. 11 riders have finished in the top 5. That's 11 different riders in the top 5 over the previous 3 qualifiers. So really strong strength and depth.
It is very tough in all our categories too, though.
Ooh.
Very interesting when we get that mix of riders. Got our regular stuff, we have riders moving up and down the categories, and it is almost, for me, in some ways, the top of the tree when it comes to our riders who are generally do something else for their full-time job. Now, let's just get back to the racing. The riders cutting to the top, to the summit of the Hollywood climb here today. You can see it's a loop around for the riders before they descend back down. So basically do a full right-hand loop and then drop back down. Category 4 already up the top of the climb, and they will be making their way back down the road. They'll see the rest of the riders ascending up there in Category 3. Maybe Category 2 might get to the bottom of the climb beforehand as we jump back in with Category 2. Just in with Mr. X100, busy closing down the group in front. A little bit of a breakaway. The ever irrepressible Henry East, the man behind the SRC World on Instagram, just at the front of the group there, in with Simmons, with Mayer, with Brun in there as well, Spina in the mix. But I'll tell you something, Mr. X100 very quickly on to the wheels there. Peter Millerstick in here, and Matthias Van Heeso, the names that we've become familiar to hearing over the last few qualifiers, all in there. And last week, well, I was going to say last week was the course similar, but I should really say, are any of the other courses at all similar to this? And if so,
I think this is something new.
The profile doesn't really match up with Belgium. It's
Nope.
not the same style there. It's not the same style as one of the other courses. I'm trying to think of a course that's like that. I'll let you think about that whilst we go through Category 1 because they are all ready to roll. Let's see if there's anything similar. I'm not sure that there is. Let's see how, on this very different course, Coalition Alpha Jaw gets on. Arnie Jacobs, Lionel Vajassin, Michael Kaminsky and Ollie Jones. They're up against Hard to Guard. Now, Hard to Guard are numerically superior with 5 riders to the 4 for the Alpha Jaw. Osborne, Martins, Nutten, Safrazetti and Van Elst for Hard to Guard. There are a whole host of superstars in here as well. And we will run through the rest of the riders from the 14 nations very shortly. But it's time to get our final group of riders underway for the first of our Sunday Race Club qualifiers in California. It is qualifier race number 4. And we are go with Category 1. It's time to head out around California to make our way around the amazing scenery that stretches from the very base, from the borders of Mexico right the way up some 900 miles of coastline in California. Fortunately, today we are only going to cover 45 kilometers, and not all of that is on the coast. There are some big climbs, and Ruben Dont has had his Weetabix, and that's a very UK-based reference, but basically it means he's had a breakfast of champions, and he's away on an absolute mission. So thank you, Ruben, for going from the gun, and this is going to wake everybody up on the flatlands. He's moved up right
from
through
Cat
the category,
2.
from Cat 2 to 1. Well, we've seen him move his way up through the category. He was really strong in 2. He's moved to category 1, and you know what? He's taking it to him. I'm absolutely loving this. Good stuff. Kudos to Ruben.
Well, indeed, and you know what? Let's mix it up. Let's mix up Category 1 because no one was expecting that. Ruben Dont, what a flyer off the start. Hayden Pucker, who's been doing brilliantly since he joined the Sunday Race Club, in the mix as well. But Kaminsky, Barnes, Dont, Osborne, Van Els, Jacobs, Panizza, all in the mix here. Power is here as well. So is Barnes. So is Ollie Jones. You know, these riders tight in the pack. And Dont, well, he's down the road at the minute. This group, well, it's a steady pace. This is going to be a really interesting course, I think, in Cat 1 because of the nature of it. Matt's just asked me, is it like any other course that we head to on the Sunday Race Club? And my answer is pretty much no.
There's nothing quite, is there?
There's nothing
really
quite like
say.
it. But what I could say, you know, it's a little bit of Belgium, but it's got a big climb at the end. It's not a huge climb like we see on the Paso Alto in Colombia. It's not as steep as the Jebel Hafit, but it's sort of got a flavour and a mix and match. But I think it's going to race all to its own. It's going to race like California, which is where it is. And X100, I'll tell you something, X100 is up and out of the pen, and he's pushing on in Category 2. He's got 9 seconds. So seeing an attack in Category 2 from X100, like we saw an attack in Category 1 from Ruben Dont. X100 pushing on, and he knows that climb is coming. He's at 5 kilometres into this course. He's got 500 metres till the Hollywood climb. Is he giving himself a bit of wiggle room on the climb because of the class of the race field, or is this an early attack as he goes through the amusement park?
So, making his way in through, there are lots of studios with lots of great attractions down here. We go down in through underneath the Toon City banner. And with great cartoons, of course, some of the iconic and very pioneering things are happening. But look at this, Mr. X100 coming around that right-hand turn. He's onto the climb, and he sees some of the Category 4 riders who have come down, descending, coming in the opposite direction. But he has got the gap. The rest of the group go under the banner now. So that is a substantial gap. 18 seconds it was shown on our screens as they went underneath the banner. Will he manage to maintain that to the top? This is going to be tough stuff, and the climbers should come to the fore, but, and it is a big but, we are on to those lower slopes, and it is a long way to the summit.
It is indeed a long way to the summit. The climb is 3.1 kilometres long with an average gradient of 6%. Well, this is the chase going on behind Brune, Millerstick, Spratt, Holwater, Carradine, all in the mix. Acevedo as well, Kane, Gombert, all in here, absolutely pushing. So is Kapinski. Ross Fawcett is here as well. Now, absolutely pushing on up the climb. It's early in the race to have a climb of this length and this gradient, but stretching this Category 2 pack. Now, by my reckoning, 12 riders went over the top in a leading group in Category 4. Are we going to see that replicated in Category 2? Carradine is pushing on. He wants to be part and parcel of any group that go over the top of this climb this early in the race. Does not want to be distanced at 8.6 kilometres into a 45 kilometre race, and it is indeed 8.6 kilometres into this race that the checkered flag, it's the polka dot banner from the Hollywood climb.
So we'll see how these riders go on here. They've got to make the way to the summit already. We're seeing riders distancing Category 2. They're about to see more of our descending riders come shooting back down past them. Here they come, flying down that big pack there in Category 3, descending. There's Simon Walter out of the saddle on the ascent, looking good, tucked nicely in with this group. They're just chasing Giselle Betty, who's the rider clear off the front here, but water looking pretty calm in that shot we saw down inside his pain cave. And of course, great to see our riders in action. We get to see the person behind the avatar. Oh, Emma's back in the room. It's all right. Emma was just doing a little bit of on-the-fly research there by the look of it, which is always part of being able to multitask here in the studio. We do have a number of screens in operation. If you see any of the social media that goes out, it's before we switch about half of the screens on in the morning. So if you are looking at that on Emma's social media feed or similar, and wonder what is that everything, and the answer is definitely not. There's about another 2 or 3 screens per person to come out and be switched on, but they happen a little bit later in the process. Right, back to the process of climbing the hills up to the summit. At the moment, the riders just breaking out of the city, making the way up through the varied landscape here. We are going to be on our way up. Just 1 or 2 riders in Category 3 to make the way down in the opposite direction. Category 2 looking good on the climb. Pretty much together. Only Betty really taking a bit of a flyer in from being chased by Mr. X100. The rest of the group mostly together. In Category 1, well, it is pretty much all together here as we approach the 4.5 kilometre marker. You can see we've got Hayden Pucker in here. We have got Ruben Dont not in here. And
no,
the
he's
reason for that,
33 seconds down the road.
He's absolutely done a fly. He's literally off our screens at times. But is that... I mean, if Ruben Dont can take this to the finish, I will personally buy him
an ice cream.
Yeah, an ice cream. What a surprise. An ice cream. If he can do this. I tell you who's
they're
not looking bothered, are they?
No, there's 4 riders who really don't want Ruben Dont.
Dont.
I need to put my teeth in today.
You just need more coffee.
Ruben Dont to go down and take the wins over Yasin Kaminsky, Jones and Jacobs. 4 riders from Coalition Alpha Jaw. And I tell you something, which one of those will be the king of Hollywood?
King of wishful thinking, maybe.
Well, we'll see.
I think if you go off the front of this stage on the way in to the climb, and as you can see, the left-hand side of your screen are Category 1 riders. Well, Ruben Dont just about to hit the polka dot banner. The chasers still to take the right-hand turn. Right-hand side of your screen, the riders at the moment, well, they are Category 4 riders, the leaders on the road. They're at 16.5k. They've just come over the top of the climb between the Toon City Sprint and the Alcatraz Sprint. They're about to start dropping back down off here. As you can see, just being de-hazmated on the way through. Very Star Wars-esque on the way down through here, as you can see. Or is it going to be the Men in Black who appear next? Well, at the moment it's the Men in Red, because we have an all-red cast with the exception of Justin Roy, who took the fastest time up the climb in the Category 4 race, and that is up the Hollywood climb. He's still got Mount and then the Hawk Hills and the Spring Road. I promise you we're not going to sing that every time.
No. Well, 10 riders in this leading group in Category 4 as they sweep round this right-hand corner. They're on a descent at the moment, but 10 riders, I can confirm, leading the Category 4 race.
And it's looking a little bit more than 10 here in Category 1 in the chasing group. They're still 30+ seconds behind Ruben Dont as Michael Knudsen starts to move. Now, is this significant? Because this is the second biggest climb, but it's the first real climb of the day, and Knudsen has gone from the traps at the bottom. He's really opened this up. Look at the power that's going down. Kaminsky straight onto the hills. Trojanski trying to stay with them as they get, he's just dived down through the group on the descent, jumping in the mix here. Really interesting how that shows on our screen. So it's Knudsen, Kaminsky, Van Elst, Osborne, Panizza. Look at the pace and the speed they're climbing. They're doing nearly 30 kilometers an hour.
The camera angle there, absolutely fantastic as we drop back in with Category 2. Huge group coming to the top. They're at 8.2 kilometers. They've been on this climb since 5.5. 400 meters, 300 meters left to go. phenomenal sized group. When they come underneath that polka dot banner, I'm going to confirm how many riders there are in that category 2 group. But it is big. Now, we talked about the strength and depth earlier on the show of the category 2 men's race field. Absolutely proving the point. Absolute class riding by the category 2 race field. Very, very shortly going to see the polka dot banner. There it is, just up ahead. Phenomenal is my word of the day for category 2.
It is absolutely brilliant to see this aggression. They go over underneath the banner. The leaders making the way round the turn. They're going to go round this little loop, and you can see at the moment it's been Dakowitz who has led them through, followed by Vanhy, Walter, Betty, Bjerhead, Harvey, Kane, and Milostic are the times up there. 7 minutes 20 for the ascent of this climb, which is a 3.1k climb, but remember that average gradient is 6%. It is a tough climb. So around the top it goes Masik Dakowitz, being chased here by Vanhy, Betty, Walter and co. He's going to drop around the left turn. Here he goes, and then it's on to the descent down to the Mulholland Drive through down into town. They've got to really push now to get back in touch with him, because he is motoring here, still holding over 5 watts per kilo into the descent.
Yeah, well, Mendakowitz and Vanhy went over the top together. Mendakowitz has now pushed on. In fact, X100 has come up to lead the charge with Walters, but 25 riders in that leading group in category 2. They're now starting to get spread, and interestingly, they're getting spread more on the descent. And now we've often talked about this, having to push on the descent as much as you push on the climb. They're over at 72, 74 kilometers an hour on the descent. Well, Martin Martins is up the front. Ruben Dont still got 10 seconds on this group, you know. Van Elst, Martins, Kaminski, Pucker, all in the mix doing the chasing. But Dont, he is the lone ranger up the top of the climb.
Well, he is, and he is ascending up here at speed. I think he needs a gold star rather than a silver star as he makes his way around the turns, because he has broken clear. He's just seen the leaders in category 2 on the way down. There they go in the opposite direction to these riders. There goes a chasing bunch in category 2. But I tell you, so the speed of these riders in category 1 on the ascent, you go out and try and ride your bike at 20 miles an hour, 32 kilometers an hour, and hold it on the flat. You go out and try to do 4%. It off this climb. This is a phenomenal speed up here, and Mikhail Kaminski with Hayden Puckett in attention are closing in on Don. He's 4 seconds up the road. He's the solo figure in yellow. He's going to go around the right-hand turn, and as you can see, he's at 15k an hour on the tight inside of the bend. Here comes the pack. It's being led by Ollie Jones with the blue cap on. It looks to me like Safra Zeddy's also come right to the fore here as they've caught Dont back. Ruben Dont now has to kick. He needs to stay with this group. He gave himself a lot of sliding room. They are currently at 7.8k. They need to go to 8.6 kilometers to get to the summit, and Dont is starting to suffer here because this group have come up and they have swept past. I'll tell you something, this beats a car chase down Mulholland Drive. This is your A-list blockbuster time, because we are seeing a fast and furious action on the roads already as they make their way in to this right-hand turn. It's still kicking at the front. Look at the watts per kilo being kicked out here. All these riders are sitting well over 6 watts per kilo with some really serious peaks going in there. It's relatively straightforward to the top now. No major hairpin turns. It just weaves its way around. Then you go into that turn round past the banner and round the loop at the top. Any gaps that are in at the top and are not closed down on that loop will not be closable on the descent, because this is a big group.
Oh, sorry. I know these riders are riding phenomenally, but look, Ice Cream Cafe. They're going for an affogato.
They are. The MyWhoosh Ice Cream Cafe, that is for me.
Well,
that is Matt's Cafe.
I tell you something, this climb is for Vujasin, Kaminski, Knudsen, Martins, Van Elst. Mikkel Plantero is in the mix as well. These riders absolutely pushing and pushing hard, because just up around that corner that sweeps on that tight left-hand bend is indeed the polka dot banner. They are 100 meters from the top of the climb. They're going to then do the switch around on the top and come back down. But this group, what a phenomenally classed group of Category 1 riders going across the line. Well, there we go. Kaminsky, 6 minutes 37 seconds, 0.84. Safra Zalivu, Yasin Knudsen, Plandro, Osborne Martins, Van Elst, Pucker, Jones and Jacobs. 11 riders in the leading group in Category 1 at the top of the Hollywood climb.
It's just a who's who. And when we were looking at this early on, we never expected necessarily it to break apart so much. Look on the left-hand side of your screen. And the difference between these riders, this leading group are now going to go diving down, and you're going to see rider after rider still on the ascent, and they are Category 1. Remember, these are the best riders that are out there, being distanced by this leading group who are putting them to the sword today. So, Category 1 hit the start of the descent. Let's see those time gaps, see if they open out. Left-hand side of your screen, Category 1. Right-hand side of your screen, Category 2, the group that are off in front. Now, we have got Mendakowicz up in here, absolutely motoring at the moment. He has got company. He's got company because he has got Mr. X100 in here. And at the moment, they have a slight gap to the riders behind. It's only 2-3 seconds to Van Heaney, Walter, Betty, Forza and co. Category 3 sweeping around this bend here, and you can just see we're in with Reyes at the moment. Angarita Reyes nicely tucked in that pack in Category 3. They're approaching the 20-kilometer marker, so they've already made their way through the Toon City Sprint and through the Alcatraz Sprint. They're now on that little bit of an uphill drag that will take them to Mount Oman on the way through.
Who decided to call it that?
It's
brilliant.
It is brilliant, and it means that we will always remember the climb. Let's face it. Now, back on something a little bit more familiar for the Belgian rider, Matthias Van Heet on the cobbles at the moment. Our Category 2 rider just sitting in here. They've closed down on our leaders, and that is Mr. X100 and it's going to be Masek Mendakowicz who is leading. They are just about to hit the back of them, but it is a select group of riders here as we hit the 15-kilometer marker point.
Well, 15-kilometer marker point for the Category 2 men. This group, well, it's so strong. Mendakowicz, Harvey, Walter, X100, Betty, just a few of the riders in the group. Take a look at that gap now. There's a gap now back to the chasing group. So 25 riders we had at the top of the climb in Category 2. They are still transitioning through to the next climb, Mount Unumanum. But this group are pushing on and creating a gap, and this is a rise between the Toon City Sprint and the Alcatraz Sprint, and it is not a classified climb as part and parcel of the climb competition today on the Sunday Race Club, but it is making a difference to this group. The push on has come. The gap is now being closed down, but the riders at the back here are having to work really hard to close the gap down and bring this back to one group. They are going to be successful as the gradient starts to come off. It's now around 2.5% under their wheels. Very shortly they're going to be at the top of this section. They're going to roll down, and when they hit the bottom they will go through the Alcatraz Sprint.
Yep, Alcatraz Sprint, the next opportunity we have to work out just how many's left in that group. It's not many now. Category 1 almost down to the bottom. In fact, they've just hit the bottom. They go underneath the Toon City Cartoon City banner. They're into Awards Toon City Sprint at the moment. They've got the right and left chicane to do. Kaminsky at the moment with the 2-second gap to Jacobs and Booker with Knudsen in there, and Kaminsky continues to push 8 watts per kilo, so he's now eliciting a response from Michael Knudsen at 10 watts per kilo. They're on the way into the sprint, and there is no respite today. We have seen Ruben Don attack, kick and go clear. We saw him being brought back. We have seen continual attacks here as we go into the sprint. So Toon City Sprint, where our Category 1 leaders are at the moment. It's Kaminsky and Knudsen on the way through.
Well, I am just going to give you a bit of an update because Mount Anuma is actually a real place.
Yes.
For those who only recognise the tune, it's part and parcel of the Santa Cruz Mountains, based in Santa Clara County, California. It's the 4th highest peak in the Santa Cruz Mountains, and the name means resting place of the hummingbird.
And I know we are joking about it in terms of the being easy to remember, because it is part of the Muppets, which was a big production out in the area. However, of course, it is no doubt a native name for the climb there. Great to see that being kept for the actual mountain top, as we're starting to see around the globe. We're seeing more traditional names being used for the climbs and for the mountains, which is really good to see. Although we're still probably going to get the Côte de Yorkshire what's it, Bob.
Côte de Yorkshire what's it, Bob? Well, I'll tell you something, there's no what's it, Bob, about Ollie Jones, Michael Knudsen and Mikhail Kaminsky, because they are pushing on 3 riders, absolutely motoring here at 14.1 kilometres into the race. And now they are coming into this section where we just saw Category 2 push. So an uncategorized climb on this course in California, and it's looking as though Jones, Kaminsky and Knudsen making the most of the run into this rise. Vujasin, Jacobs, Plantro, the gap now 4 seconds back. Category 2 back in with them, 17.1 kilometers to this race. They are on the descent here. Mendakowicz now getting company.
So as they make their way through the area that we're not allowed to name in that area of the world that you're not allowed to visit, you can see at the moment it is Maciej Mendakowicz coming in on the front here. Mr. X100 chasing as they come in to this big descent. Very, very tough stuff at the moment as they make their way around this course here, and some fantastic shots from our drone immediately behind the riders are coming sweeping down at the moment. This leading group, it keeps dissolving and reforming, it keeps on breaking and then finding itself back into gearing. A very, very, very fluid at the moment.
Yeah, very fluid at the moment. It keeps stretching and coming back together again. Huge group of 25 Category 2 riders, all still in the mix. It's not 25 Category 1 riders in the mix. That looks like 4 at the moment. Plantro having joined at the front 3 of Knudsen. Excuse me, of Knudsen. Kaminsky. It's not good when you get a frog in your throat when you're meant to be talking about a bike race.
No, so shall I say who's at the front? It's Joseph Knudsen, Kaminsky and Plantero. So Mikhail Plantero at the moment from France, with Michael Knudsen in there from Norway. Mikhail Kaminsky of Poland in as well. And Ollie Jones, well, I'm tipping D and a rider in there, but we're in with Mikhail Plantero, the man who is based in France, and at the moment looking pretty warm there at the minute, and I'm sure he's got the fans in action. The temperature warming up, been quite wet in France of late. It's been quite wet all around the world. A quick shout out if you are watching us in Switzerland. I know that the weather has been so bad. There's been a number of areas really struggling with conditions and avalanches, mudslides, etc. I think at one point Zermatt really struggling. So if you are watching over there, I hope you are all well and not affected by that. Well,
at 26.1 kilometres, Category 4 are now up and over the second main climb of the day. Ola Warren setting the fastest time up there. Jacques Roussenek in 2, Alex West in 3, Brett McMurtry in 4, Bu Alma in 5, Justin Roy, Luke Allport, Ben Kirk, Matteo Pino and Felipe Marin. So 10 riders still together at the front of Category 4. Now at 26.5 kilometres into the race, at 24.6 kilometres. This is Jose Oviedo. He is pushing up the climb, 7% under his wheels. He's got 1 second over the group behind, and it's still a big group as well in Category 3 as they start to ascend the second categorised climb of the day. It is indeed excuse me, 1.7 kilometers in length with an average gradient of 4%. A little bit more like we see in Belgium, expecting these riders to pretty much stay together. As Jose Oviedo out on the balcony at the moment, trying to be in the shade, not the sunshine. Well, pushing on here in the group 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm counting about 8 or 9 riders right at the front of that pack. But it's got a big tail.
It is a huge pack, isn't it? As this shot comes out slightly wider, you can see just how many riders have managed to get back onto the back of this group. They have a desperate, real spread out set of riders in category 4 in front of them. They are going to slowly pull them back as they make the way up here, and the summit of the climb coming at 26 kilometers, 1.7k climb for those riders at the moment. Meanwhile, in category 2, no prizes for guessing that there are riders on the attack, because it's category 2. Probably no prizes, to be fair, in guessing that it's Mr. X100 who's on the attack. This time it's Olivier Simmons who's closing him down. Simmons has been very, very strong, and he well could be the rider today, because today, the way the racing is shaping up, Emma, this is not a course necessarily for a climber, because although the end climb is relatively long, 6.8k, the way this racing is shaping up, you have got to have been strong all the way through. So you've got to be almost like a rouleur style rider. So you've got to be able to climb, you've got to be able to descend, you've got to be able to change your pace very frequently, you've got to be able to respond and attack, and that for me is what it feels like.
No, I don't disagree with you at all, Matt. The X100 and Simmons are the two riders now out front of this category 2 race. Milostick Linden is the rider who's pushing on Ricardo. Betty is in there as well. Ospina, Carradine, Fawcett right up the front. So is Jonas Bjarhed. These riders, well, they are pushing on and working, but not bringing that breakaway of 2 back yet. Well,
will it just be time? I think it may well be. We will take a look now. Left-hand side of your screen, you can see that we've got a big split now in the group. We're starting to see the gaps appear. 12 seconds behind these leading riders is Lionel Vujassim.
I know.
Martin
really
Martin, Stefan Van Elst.
Plantro Jones, Nelson Safrazadi, and Kaminsky. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 riders clear. Vujassim, Van Elst are indeed in the group behind. So is Martins. This is a really interesting move as to whether they are going to stay clear.
And they're riding at a pace. Jones and Kaminsky, the fastest 2 of the Category 1 riders. In fact, the fastest rider of the day coming from Nicholas Van Haren ahead of Mark Gates. Both those riders sprinting it out. Then behind you can see we've got Cirillo of Category 3, Simmons of Category 2. Then it's Jones now and Kaminsky coming through. Then Van Elst, Pino and Dadson. But a real mix. The riders not ridiculously quick, which means that they are sitting at a pace, at a tempo to get through there. At the moment, these are your leading riders in category 1, making the way in through here. The rider in the green skin suit is the 5th rider in this group in category 1. That is Michael Kaminsky. He has got the red socks on and the all green outfit rather than the green jersey and the black shorts of category 2. Now, category 1 at the moment are just making their way up to the 20-kilometer marker. They're just about to start the long drag that takes them out towards the Santa Monica Hill. So just about to kick his way up that long drag. The leaders in category 1 heading towards the second of our climbs. In category 2, around these twists and turns, you can see that we have Mr. X100 at 8 seconds, now 9 seconds clear of Olivier Simmons. Simmons only 4 seconds clear of the chasing group behind. So it's open out. The same applies. If Mr. X100 can make it to the finish, I'll buy him an ice cream.
Well, making it to the finish at the moment.
Solo.
Ben Kirk is leading the Category 4 race. He's got riders chasing on his tail just 1 second back, but they are at 30.1 kilometres, at 27.9 kilometres. These are the leaders in the Category 3 race, and it really is leaders. So at the top of the previous climb, 17 riders went over the top in the lead on the Category 3 race. I think 1 or 2 may have been dropped since then, but it's still a huge group. Kansara is there, Pino, Angarita, Kirchner, Kalman, Diduch. Neville Ross is still in the mix. So is Nicholas Orego. Really interesting to see these riders, look at that, just slipping onto the back of the group. So pushing on there, Peter Connell just making contact back into the bunch, safely in the group. They are moving now at 28.3 kilometers into this race. The San Francisco Sprint is the next thing on the agenda that this group of Category 3 riders will face. They'll then transition into the Hawk Hills. They then move down off of the Hawk Hills into the Spring Road climb, where the checkered flag, well, that will be at the top.
It will indeed. So in over the bridges here, making our way into San Francisco to see who is going to be able to take away the next of our sprint points. Remember, there are 3 sprint segments today. Toon City Sprint, the Alcatraz Sprint, both of which have been completed. Just the San Francisco Sprint to come at 31.8. So it is a fair way in to go before we get there. Category 2, 23.9k in the chasing group. The leader, though, is Mr. X100. He's on a solo mission at the minute, 16 now, 17 seconds to the group behind. And this is where Mr. X100 is going to be scoring time, because at the moment he's got the pressure on those pedals. He's keeping the chain tight all the time. Behind him, they're not as much. It's giving him sliding room as he comes on to this climb. Now, this climb, the second of our climbs here today, quick reminder, 1.7 kilometers long. It has 67 meters of climbing. Now, the average gradient is 4%. However, there are steep kickers in here, and that could do some damage to his lead. But going into the climb, 18 seconds for Mr. X100 on the right-hand side of your screen. The gap has opened to the chasers on the left.
Well, it's really interesting tactics today, isn't it, from X100? We know he's a very, very strong time trialer. He can sit at a set pace for a long period of time. The fact that this course is producing fluctuations in pace may well be a challenge for him, and maybe tactically he's gone out with a different approach. So great to see X100 push on and set a different style, a style that works for him on a course that maybe doesn't because of its punchy nature. So X100, tactically astute, moving forward in Category 2. Another tactically astute rider, Mikhail Kaminsky. 3 wins so far. Can he make it 4? Well, time will tell today. Safrazadi, Knudsen, Jones and Plantro are the riders on his wheel who are going to be trying to stop that. Van Elst at 35 seconds back is the closest chaser to this group of leading riders in Category 1. 5 riders off the front of the pack. 5 riders currently leading Category 1, 23 kilometres into this 45-kilometre race.
And as they make their way in through here, they're masters of their own destiny. They get themselves out from the gate, the magical bridges that connect this part of California don't exist out there in real life. You have to swim across from one place to another. But by the power of virtual reality, we can magically bring places like Alcatraz a whole lot closer to the side. I'll tell you, if it was that close in real life, lots of people would swim across, rather than the rumoured 2 or 3 that have allegedly swum from Alcatraz and escaped, but has never been confirmed either.
Oh, well, we like to keep escapes from Alcatraz secret.
Indeed, we do. Don't forget, it is one of the routes if you are out and around. We've got some great routes here in California, one of our new worlds here in the latest launch of MyWhoosh, California and Hydriat, both with 7 new routes each. The downtown LA Coastal Range, Escape from Alcatraz, Golden Gate, the hilly route, the technology and entertainment, and of course, Wake Up San Francisco. The routes, each route varies in distance, but they range from 6 kilometers to the just shy of 60 kilometer marker. So plenty of terrain for our riders to explore and to race on. Now, left-hand side of your screen, racing over the summit of our second climb, Mount Umanuman. It is going to be the leaders in Category 2 on the right-hand side of your screen at 33.6k. They're on to the climb. It's the leaders in Category 4. They're in the Hawk Hills. So basically, if you know your geography, if you're a mountain bike fan, this is actually out in the Marin Hills.
Ooh.
So Marin County. It's basically north of the Golden Gate Bridge. You go over the bridge, go in, and this is the birthplace of mountain biking, or VTT, or VTT, if you are French. Basically, this is where mountain biking was born. The clunker races.
Did you ever have a Marin mountain bike?
I've had one Marin mountain bike in my life, and I didn't have it for very long before, because it was borrowed and then given back, so it wasn't technically mine, but I did have it for a little while. I had about 6 months.
Well, there we go. I wonder whether Michael Knudsen ever rode a Marin, or whether he is prolific or proficient on a mountain bike. I think I might have to ask him that this week. But Kaminsky, Knudsen, Jones and Plantreau are tapping their way up the climb at the moment. This is Category 3, catching a group of Category 4 riders as they sweep across the bridge, but that's not the leaders in Category 4. On the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, you can see this catch being made, but you can see further up the road more groups of Category 4 riders. So Van Velgem is in the front of this pack at the moment, collecting these riders as they sweep over the bridges. The group is huge and getting bigger.
So the riders in Category 3 going over the Golden Gate Bridge and making the way towards Marin County, towards the climb where we see Ben Kirk, who is clear at the front by 6 seconds. He looks over his shoulder behind him. That's the chasing group behind. He's nearly up at the top of this climb, of the Hawk Hills climb, very famous for its view back across the Golden Gate and across the bay. Behind them, chasing Categories 3, 2 and Category 1, who at the moment are at 25 kilometers covered, and it means that they are part way up the second climb. This leading group of riders open the gap. They've kept the gap there, Emma. This is strong riding. I mean, are we going to see this to the finish, do you think? Can this keep it clear?
It is indeed a class breakaway field, but there are some class riders in that chase group. However, there are riders in the chase group who are teammates of the riders in the breakaway group. Ooh. Who may not want to do any chasing, but want to be in that chasing group to pick up the race should somebody else close the gap.
Yeah, interesting. Chasers on the right-hand side, or what's left, or the nearest chasers, should we say, because it's really fractured.
But for Yassin, Martins and Van Elst, 2 riders from Hard to Guard, 1 rider from Coalition Alphajaw.
And we've got to remember, there's no team prize today. That comes in our finals with 50,000 UAD being the top prize. That is a prize to chase for in our finals, but today it's not there. So it may be that they're looking for the individual win. And let's face it, if in that leading group your teammate was Mikhail Kaminsky, the man who is at the moment the rider on form, you're not necessarily going to want to chase it down, because you would, I'm not sure, bet your house on it, but you'd be quite prepared to put a big stake down there. And you're going to go down to the Vegas tables and you're going to go spin the wheels. I think that would be a rider to put your money on.
Well, Kaminsky quite publicly said that he did a PB racing this month, so obviously on form. Kaminsky taking the fastest time up the climb, 2 minutes 50 seconds. Knudsen, Plantreau, Jones, Safrazadi, that's the leading group of 5 in Category 1. Betty, Fawcett, Simmons, Van He, Lyndon Millerstick and Burke Cahan, the riders in Category 2 coming through. Obviously these are live times and will change as more riders come up and over the top of the climb, but if Kaminsky is setting personal bests now in racing, can he hold or increase that form before the World Championships semi-finals in September?
Yeah, that is a big question. And of course, we've got a test event coming up on the 26th of July.
June,
26th of June, which is this coming Wednesday, 10 o'clock. And
anybody can register to ride. You do not have to be one of the riders who may well be selected by the national federations for those semi-finals in September. You can register Flamme Rouge Racing. Yep. There is a document for you to register, and you can try out the World Championship courses. And I say courses because there are 3 different courses that will run one after the other, and you can try out the format yourself.
So please do jump on board that and try. Really looking forward to that. Lots of events coming up on MyWhoosh. You can check them all out on the MyWhoosh.com website for the premium events. You can click on there. Lots of ways to register, lots of different events. Don't forget, some of them you have to register direct. So things like the OTR Team Time Trials. I think their next raft of Team Time Trials are coming out.
Next season is out soon. Get yourself some friends and get on board. It's great fun.
I could do the fun bit, but I'm not sure about the friends. I'm not sure I've got enough to make a team time trial.
Well, whilst Matt ponders registering for the team time trial.
No, I'm not really.
Safra Zaidi, Plantero, Jones, Knudsen and Kaminsky are at the front of the Category 1 race. The front of the Category 3 race, though, it's still a big group of riders. They are coming up to the 35-kilometre mark with 10k to go. But at the front on the road, Ben Kirk is leading the race in Category 4, and he's currently leading on the road at the moment. Luke Allport 2 seconds behind him. They've got a gap, but it's a small gap, just 4 seconds to the chasing group here in Category 4. These race fields are so well matched. They've been racing now for 1 hour and 1 minute. They have still got some way to go, but it is all uphill.
It is. It's time to hit the climb. You can see at the front of the race now, Allport and Kirk are being closed down here. This pack have timed it to perfection. They're going to come onto the heels here on the lower slopes. A quick reminder for you, the race distance in total, 45 kilometres. The final spring road climb, a climb which is 6.8k long and finishes at 700 meters to go. Not 500, 700 meters to go. The summit run in off the top of this climb is very, very tricky. We're going to see which of our riders have got that right. We're not going to give any spoilers away on that one, but it's going to be very, very interesting to see how that plays out at the moment. Allport from Kirk, from Ammo, from Murtry West, Pino, Warren and Co in Category 4. Category 3, well, they are still absolutely motoring. Big pack in there. We're going to jump in with Category 1 as our 5 breakaway leaders are continuing to push on. They are some 40 plus seconds, 45 seconds it's averaging out at the moment from the group behind Martins, Vujasin, Van Elst and Co. And these 5 riders are looking like they have this pretty much in their control. You can see that they are 2 full turns away from the riders behind, and this surely, Emma, is going to make our final riders. So just making the way in. I mean, Emma, we are currently, these riders, they are at 29.8k. They're just about to head towards the Golden Gate Bridge, where we're seeing the leaders in Category 2 just a little bit further up the road go on to him. In Dekowitz going on 32.2k versus 29.9. Category 1 leaders are motoring. They're going to be there.
Well, they are indeed motoring, and they may well sweep up the riders on the road ahead of them. But there's just over 8 kilometres still separating the leaders in Category 1 from the leaders on the road at the moment, which are the leaders in Category 4. And they are on the final climb of the day, the Spring Road climb. Well, let's take a look at the map and see where our riders are at the moment in California.
So here we go. This is the profile. Our riders have completed the first, the second, and the third climbs. The leaders on the road at the moment, partway up the Spring Road climb. Now, there's a little kicker on the way into this climb, which makes life difficult. And that's where we saw the big close down on our two initial leaders, Kirk and Allport. Emma, that final climb, it's the biggest today. You know, it's huge. It's 276 meters of climbing. The biggest climb before that was the first one, the Hollywood climb at 188. We saw the damage that was done there. Has the racing before the final climb change what's going to happen on the final climb?
Well, let's bear in mind the final climb is not as steep as the first climb. The 188 metres was over 3.1 kilometres. The 276 metres is over 6.8 kilometres. So the gradient is not as steep as the Hollywood climb. The Spring Road climb, though, is long, and our riders have raced hard before they get there. 37.5 kilometres of racing before they start the final climb. It is a Category 3 climb, like the Hollywood climb, and the fact it comes latter in the race is going to be part and parcel of that classification. Note, 700 metres from the polka dot banner to the finish line when they get to the top of the climb. It is going to be attrition on that climb.
Interesting. Let's see if it is going to play out, as Emma has suggested, the attrition on the climb with riders diving off the back. Meanwhile, front of Category 2, Mr. X100, who was on the offensive so often so far, still there, but has company. James Harvey, Masek Mendakowicz, the other rider with them at the moment, but Harvey and Mr. X100 are leading this out. Mendakowicz is at 2 seconds, so you can see he's about 20 meters behind at the moment, but closing in at speed. Let's see if he's going to close the gap down. Behind them, that group is starting to come back to the wheels again. So we've had, or is been a plot with twists and turns as we come in. Will it be a show-stopping finale on the final climb here in Category 2? I suspect it will be, because we have got a big group coming up onto the hills, and surely they are going to make contact. The fight for the finish, the top of this climb, Emma, in Category 2 is a big, big group. This should be absolutely brutal, and I'm not sure it's going to be.
Well, this particular climb, I think they are looking at and waiting for the final climb of the day. And there is indeed a nasty kicker before the Spring Road climb even starts.
Yep.
So the riders will come down off the Hawk Hill here, and they will transition in to the Spring Road climb. But it's not an easy transition, and it is, for me, predominantly uphill, that transition. So this is a very, very hard finish from, I would say, the 33.4 kilometre mark, because it is up the Hawk Hills, down the other side, then an uphill transition into the Spring Road climb, and then it's uphill all the way. You know, you might look at this and think, what does that profile look like? But this is a hard race course. The fact that we have got still such a large group of Category 2 riders together is testament to the quality of that Category 2 race field. We've got a couple of Category 3 riders in the mix. They've picked them up on the climb, but I am looking to see, I'm counting around 14 riders in that leading group in Category 2.
Well, we'll see how they go on. Ken in here in this group, and he was running strongly in the very first part of this race here today. Qualifier number 4 qualifiers and a final in June before we move on to our July races. And at the moment, Ken with Bert Ken nicely tucked in that group in Category 2. They're on their descent off from the Hawk Hills. They will then have the transition into that final climb to do. They're the right-hand side of your screen, left-hand side of your screen. Well, you can see at the moment on the way up here, hitting the banner and starting to ascend. This is the leading group of 5. Are they going to stay together? Would you want to break this apart here, or would you just want to set a really good pace? Would you attack, or would you just set a pace here, Emma?
I think we can see on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, we've got the second group of Category 1 riders. We know there's 3 riders in there coming into the base of the climb. I'd want to set a tempo to keep the distance. I think the winning move, she says, I think the winning move may well come on the final climb. Winning move may well come right now because Kaminsky is pushing on the pedals at the moment, but Knudsen, Safrazadi, Jones and Plantreau are responding. They're going to keep this group of 5 together. I think with a climbing distance here of 1.1 kilometers, we're not going to see any real attacks here because of the latter part of this race parkour. Had this been the final climb, then like we see in Belgium where there's 1,000 meters of climbing coming into the finish, often we see riders go on that and put in a short sharp attack, and we've seen Kaminsky do that before. In fact, he did that back in qualifier 1 when we were in Belgium. Plantreau, Nair, Safrazadi and Knudsen were the riders behind him in the top 5 that day. It's a slightly different mix today, but Jones is in there, Plantreau, Kaminsky and Knudsen alongside Kaminsky at the moment. So they are motoring up towards the top of the Hawk Hills. They've then got the descent further up the road now with 5 kilometers to go. That's the Category 3 race field, and they've worked their way through most of the Category 4 race field. Just 14 riders now ahead of them on the road.
And it's really frantic in that race. Just was watching that there as Emma was summing up. Absolutely flying as they went up and over. Now let's take a look at the time set by our riders in Category 1 up the climb. It's going to flick onto our screens very shortly. Surely they haven't gone up slower than the Category 2 riders. The fastest time set by Jonas Bjarhed, a 2 minute 11.141. Here we go. It's updated. So 2 minutes 11, not anymore. It's 1 minute 57.97 seconds, because it's 13 seconds quicker in a 2 minute climb. That is absolutely motoring. Kaminsky, Plantreau, Safrazadi, Knudsen and Jones basically going over together as they went up over the top. The leading riders in Category 2 going through just a little bit slower behind. It reflects really what we saw on our screen. Now we're back in with the lead in Category 3 at the moment. These are our riders who would normally be in the blue, but we're in with the polka dot jersey of MyWhoosh Kalman. MyWhoosh Kalman is the leader on the road in Category 3. He has been attacking along with Ivo Shuk. Kansara's been doing the same. It's been incredibly active. They're at 40.6k. In front of them are a few riders, and then we've got a gap to the leaders in Category 4.
And I can confirm Allport is allporting in California.
Oh yeah, really? Well and truly he's managing to allport in California.
He is indeed, and allporting in California, he's 10 seconds ahead of the rest of the Category 4 leading group as Kalman pulls through Kansara, Sur, Kochikov. These are the leading riders in Category 3, and they are working their way through these riders now at the 4 of the Category 4 race field. Question is, how far can they go, and how long can the leaders in Category 4 stay clear? Well, they're still over a minute up the road to 10th place on the road. Mark Dadson is going to get swept up here. He's in the green sprint skin suit, signifying the fastest sprinter today in Category 4. He's going to try and stay in that group and take a bit of a toe up, and I imagine some of the other riders are as well. But Category 4 riders, how long can they stay in on the climb with Category 3? Luke Allport is hoping not very long.
He is indeed, because he has struck clear. He's seen the group coming behind. He knows that riders will be closing down. He's trying to accelerate. So as we work our way through our groups, you can see our various leading riders on the way through. Luke Allport off of the front in Category 4, bottom right hand side of your screen. Category 3 leaders closing in on him, bottom left hand side of your screen. Top right hand side of your screen, you've got the Category 2 group, which was 11 riders strong not all that long ago. Left hand side at the very top, that's Category 1 leaders. 5 riders, the breakaway 5, who have continued to extend their gap with their teammates behind, not looking like they're closing that gap down. We have a little bit further for them to go. But meanwhile, let's get in with the climb. 41.6k and 42.6k on our screens, indicating there is 1 kilometre from Calman to Allport, the leader of Category 3, chasing the leader of Category 4 on the road. Time is running out, though, because although this climb continues up, the very top of it, it does level out, and it's going to be interesting to see how many of these riders get this finish right.
Well, getting the finish right is going to be crucial, and Kalman is pushing on in Category 3. Kochkov, Sir, Diduch, all trying to stay on the wheel. In fact, there we go, just closed down by Ivo, Sir, and Kochkov and Diduch coming to the fore as well. So a group of 4 there on the right-hand side of your screen. On the left-hand side of your screen, that was Category 2, and Category 1, well, that's it now. All 4 categories are on the final climb today. All 4 categories on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club are on Spring Road Climb, the last climb today in this race in California.
So heading the way in through those big giant redwoods. They've literally been going through the trunks of those trees. One of the most amazing places in the world. I don't have much on my bucket list. Going back to a very early conversation, that's definitely one of mine. On my bucket list is going to see the redwoods, because they are absolutely amazing trees out there, and absolutely giant. We would be very interested to hear from you if you've been there. So here you are, there's your task for this week. If you've been to a giant redwood, if you're one of our viewers or one of our riders, let me know. If you've been to see the giant redwoods, you've been in the one. There's one you can drive through, or well, you used to be able to.
Do you have a picture? I think is what you.
Yeah, you've got to send us a picture
for size.
For scale.
For scale, there you go.
Indeed.
Well, Allport is 8 seconds up the road at the moment. Aimer is the rider doing the chasing. Matteo Pino, Alex West. Well, the gap back to West now 18 seconds. So 3 riders looking like they are going clear in this Category 4 race on the final climb. West, Marin, Roy, Russanek, Kirk, all much further now down the climb. Matthias Kalman in Category 3 continues to push. 6 seconds now on Diduch, Kochkov, Sir. Kansara is at 11 seconds. So Kalman now really stamping his authority on the Category 3 race. Luke Allport continues to push in the Category 4 race. He's adamant he wants to get to the finish line first, but Aimer and Pino now riding together behind. Can the two of them work together to close down Allport?
Oh, that could happen. Yeah, will we see them closing in on Allport, the man from Level Up Racing? Well, time will tell. Now, leaders in Category 4. They are still some way off that polka dot banner. And the polka dot banner, 700 meters from our finish line here today in California. It's the first visit of the Sunday Race Club to California, and it's already proving to be an absolutely brutal race route. It's torn these groups apart really early on, and it's continued to decimate the race fields. We're on the final climb with Category 4. Luke Allport leading. He has a gap at the moment of 20 seconds to the chasing riders, Buama and Matteo Pino, the riders nearest to him. Then it's going to be Marin and West, the duo climbing up currently in 4th and 5th places. Roy at the moment in the polka dot jersey, well, he's in 6th position in Category 4, but the man who's going to go up and take maximum points on the climb today, on our final climb, the Spring Road climb here, is Luke Allport. Will he have done enough to wrestle that jersey off the shoulders of Roy? I'm not so sure, but it certainly looks like he has, because there it goes. The skin suit is on Allport. He's taken that on the final climb. The timing was superb. Luke Allport is going to take away the polka dot skin suit, or is he? No, he's not, because behind him it has all changed. But remember, that is the top of the climb. It is not the finishing line. He's gone in over the top. He took the points. points took him to the top, then Buamur did, then Pino. We've got to remember, Roy's still got to get up there, and that may well be that he's going to go back across.
Well, Luke Allport now has 300 metres, 200 metres to the finish line. He's been Californian dreaming all the time. Can he be the king of Hollywood today? That's the UCI banner. He's Allported his way to the finish line. Your winner today, Luke Allport in Category 4.
What a ride by Luke Allport to go clear. The chase never broke. It never got in, but Buamur is going to break clear to take second place here today. He's chased all the way to the line by Matteo Pinto. He's going to come through in third position.
Well, Category 4 over the line. Matthias Kalman is Category 3. He is very shortly going to see that finish line. He's got 900 metres to go. It's an 18-second gap back to Sir and Diduch. Kochikov is there as well. They're going to do the chasing continually up the Spring Road climb, but that's the polka dot banner. That is the top of the climbing segment. Still got some way to go until he gets to the finish line. 700 metres to be precise. The chase is on behind.
It's on, but is it going to be enough? Surely he's done enough. Surely Matthias Kalman has opened up a sufficient gap. But remember, you can still have issues when you're on your run in to the finish. He comes in between the rock walls here. The banners at the side of the road indicating it's not far to go. It will open up a little bit. Then he will see the banner, you'll see the finish line, the UCI banner. There's a little bit of a drop here where you go over the top. He will pick up speed and he's continuing to push, sprinting his way down.
Well, Cameron is indeed sprinting his way to the finish line. He's very shortly going to see that UCI banner. Matthias Kalman has absolutely ridden clear of this big Category 3 race field. That's the finish line. This is Kalman. Matthias Kalman takes the win in Category 3. Well, Kalman takes the win in Category 3. The fight is on behind between Sir and Diduch for second place. Diduch is coming fast. He's going to come through over the top of Ivo Sir. Diduch is going to take second place, I think, unless Sir can respond. No, Andre Diduch is going to take second place in Category 3. Ivo Sir will come through for third. Oleg Kochikov, I think, will come through in fourth place.
So a frantic, frenetic race all the way into the finish in our categories who have made it over the line. There are still more to come. Those fantastic carved eagles at either side of the road looking down on Lyndon Milostic as he continues his ascent at 42.3k. Will the youngster be able to stay clear of Betty, of Fawcett, of Spina, Bjarhead and Van He? Time will tell. Still got 2.6k to go to the finish. A little further behind, the leading riders in Category 1, those same 5 early breakaway riders, have continued onwards, and it is still being pushed at the front as they make the way up here. There is no let up in the pace. They know that they want to stay clear. They want to stay in that prize money for our top 5 riders.
Well, they do indeed, and they continue to tap on those pedals. Safrazadi, Knudsen, Jones, Plantero and Kaminsky. 5 riders clear in Category 1, continuing to work their way up the climb. On the right-hand side of your screen, they are 1.1 kilometres further up the climb, and Milostic is indeed leading out, but Betty is bringing everybody back behind. So the charge is on from Jose Ricardo, Betty, Ross Fawcett, Carlos Ospina, Jonas Bjarhead, all in Category 2, all chasing the young rider up the climb at the moment, and it's looking like they are closing down. So Betty now coming up onto the wheel of Lyndon Milostic, going up and over the top. Milostic needs to respond. Fawcett pushing hard behind. So Ross Fawcett now coming in, making this a group of 3. 3 seconds back to Ospina now. Can Carlos Ospina close the gap and make this a group of 4?
Oh, it's so yo-yo at the moment. It bounces up and down. It is such a crazy pace here as they make their way in around the turns. The group in Category 2 breaking and reforming, but the pressure is on in Categories 2 and 1. So Category 2, on the right-hand side of the screen, Betty Milostic, along with Fawcett and Ospina, who has made contact. They have dropped Peter Milostic, so Linden up there. Peter Milostic distanced and out of a contention at the moment, a little bit further down, but this is the lead. These riders are coming in. There are 4 of them together. We're at 43.3k. They've not yet snapped this to go break clear solo. Behind them, chasing hard at Category 1. The 5 leaders in Category 1 basically still all together on this climb. No breaks in that race in the top 5 at the moment.
Well, talking about chasing hard behind, there's actually a very big group of Category 2 riders chasing hard behind, and I think they're only around 11 seconds back. You can't quite see them on the shot on screen at the moment. Yep, there you go. Biarhead, Graves, Kane, all just over 11 seconds back, all pushing in this Category 2 race. And the graphic on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, absolutely key here at the moment in this race, because everybody is on a charge up the climb. The finish line, that UCI banner is coming. It's 1.2 kilometers away. Can the chase group do anything? Or is this it? Is this the breakaway in Category 2? Betty and Milostic, are the riders here clear?
They've just opened up a little bit of a gap on Fawcett. The nearest chaser to them is only a matter of a few seconds behind. It's 3 seconds back to Ospina and Fawcett. So it's 2 pairs of riders on the road. It is currently Linden Milostic. He's the rider in the green jersey with the black shorts, white socks. They're with the rider in the polka dot skin suit of the best climber so far today in Category 2. That is Giselle Betty. Behind Ospina and Fawcett are the nearest chasers, but they are losing ground, and Biarhead and Co are closing in on Ospina and Fawcett. Those top 5 positions by no means fixed. Biarhead working hard on the right of your screen, but the leaders go underneath the top of the Spring Road climb in Category 2. Linden Milostic and Giselle Betty are your 2 fastest riders at the moment up the climb. 700 meters at that point. It's now 600 meters because we are on this fast upper section. We come in amongst those rocky outcrops up on the top. When they come out from here, they will be able to sprint pretty much for the line. It's a great visual indicator. We're on 400 meters to go. At 300 meters to go, we come out from the rocks into the trees, and it's that big run for the line. Who's going to take it? They're out there in the trees.
Oh, Betty leading this out from Milostic. Milostic now kicking at 9 watts per kilo, coming up onto the wheel off. Betty goes up to the side, over the top. Has he got his timing right, or can Betty respond? Betty responds. That's the UCI finish line. Giselle Betty takes the win from Linda Milostic in Category 2.
So Betty from Milostic, then it's going to be Ospina and Fawcett, I suspect, behind, and not far behind them. This is Category 1. So it is indeed Betty Milostic, Ospina, Fawcett in Category 2. Category 1, Michael Plantero is on the offensive. He's gone at 9 watts per kilo. He's trying to break clear. He wants to get rid of this man, Mikhail Kaminsky, who's just gone storming over the top. Whatever you can do, I can do better, he says. I'm going to answer you and give you some back as well. He came here as hot favourite. He's been winning his way around the world in all of the different places we go to on the Sunday Race Club. Can he make it a first here in California? He's being pursued by Michael Knudsen. Can Knudsen take him out?
Well, can Knudsen do anything? Can Jones or Plantero or Safrazadi? Safrazadi is out of this now at 12 seconds. But Jones, Knudsen and Plantero, well, they are chasing now. Ollie Jones is indeed teammate of Kaminsky. He's not going to chase or chase hard. He may well put a sprint in to take the best position he can. But this is down to Knudsen Knudsen and Plantero, because Kaminsky has got 500 metres to go. He's gone into the rock section. He's going to work his way through this section. When he comes out the other side, that is when he is going to move towards very quickly the finish line banner today. Ollie Jones going 9 watts per kilo behind, but he's not closing the gap. Michael Knudsen, is he broken? He's at 9.3. He is chasing, but the road is going to run out today. Michael Kaminsky continues to push. That's the UCI banner. This is 4 of 4 for Kaminsky. There's your winner. Michael Kaminsky takes the win in Category 1 today.
So the rider taking away the win is Michael Kaminsky. He goes through in 1. Behind him, it's all about keeping the pace high to the line. Ollie Jones comes through in 2. Michael Knudsen in 3. Mikel Plantero in 4. It's going to be a 5th place today for Said Safrazedi. He comes in and through the line to round out the top 5 in Category 1. They had a gap. They opened it up and they held it. In fact, they extended it as they came on the climb. Kaminsky, Jones, Knudsen, Plantero and Safrazedi. The top 2 places going to Coalition Alpha Jaw. We have 3rd and 5th for the riders from Hard to Guard, with Mikel Plantero sitting in between them. The race time, the new course record, as Emma said quite correctly, a new course record set today, 1 hour, 7 minutes, 43.325, going to Mikel Kaminsky. And that sets us up fantastically for a final, which is coming next Sunday. It will not just be our individual competition, it will be our team competition as well.
Wait.
Emma is absolutely on the edge of her seat already. Don't forget, between now and then, we have the Ride to Test event on the courses for the World Championships. That's coming up on Wednesday. You can see Emma's going to be riding it. I'm going to be watching. I'm also going to be doing a bit of tech check as well at the same time. So I'm not just taking it easy and putting my feet up. It is time, though, for me to go put my feet up slightly, because it is the end of the show. It's been an absolute pleasure to be in California and a new world yet again on MyWhoosh with Emma Martin. You can catch up with Emma at biking_Emma, with me at Matt Fixpain. Please make sure you subscribe to the MyWhoosh YouTube channel. Every single one of you doing an amazing job. Thank you very much if you have done already. A big thank you to the teams behind these scenes. I know that they are under the weather somewhat at the moment, but doing an amazing job today, particularly with a new world, with all the surprises that can bring. So from them, from Emma, from myself, Matt Payne, it's time to say stay safe. We'll see you again next week.
Goodbye.